as a product manager, whether you're a candidate or you're inside the organization, being able to go and make sure that you can clearly articulate the current business strategy and go back and refresh research and be very intentional about refreshing the research that you've got and speaking very clearly to the changes and how they impact the product is a really important aspect that gets missed a lot of times. We get into the rut of building the feature that we promised we were going to build because it made sense a year ago and now we haven't delivered it in the last year. But we need to constantly turn that handle and make sure that we're still focused on the right. What else have you seen?
Like Scott's comment in the chat, we did talk about that when we were going through the session on competitive intel, but it's a great it's a great point, right? And that's the key market research, all of this evaluating do you have market fit? And is it the market that you have or is it the market you want? And then re-looking at that competitive intel, like you just said, Scott, right? Like it's got to be iterative. You've got to have a process in your product organization where you come back and revisit that periodically, even if you've done it. So you're like, oh yeah, the quality of that work is awesome. You're not, questioning your predecessor in that scenario like you would be in a new role or coming into a startup and you're questioning what the founders and investors came up with, right? But if it's yours, you still have to come back and check it. And Scott, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that since I've just called you out for what you said in the chat, but it was great. I loved it.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering if there were better signals for knowing that your data is stale. Like the approach I take is I can't improve the data, so I want to improve the process of collecting the data. And to your point, right, laying on that iterative cadence. But the only intuition I have for knowing how frequently I need to do that in the context of how quickly a company's market is moving, customers are moving, competitors are moving, because I jump around like I don't have a home as a consultant, is the intuition from Nielsen Norman Group's how often do you do research? If I keep hearing the same things, then I know I'm checking too frequently.
That's a good point. Yeah, there is a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah, very true. And you don't spend all your time doing that, right? There's so many things you have to do in product. That's, I think, why this was so top of mind and important to me for us all to remember as we're starting a new year, because it's one of those things that drops off your radar, at least for many. You're probably all better than me, but it certainly has for me at many times because it's just that you did it, you packed it away, you went, oh, that was good. It was good enough for the time. And it's just you get so busy with all the other things that we are responsible for in product that you don't get to come back around. Even if you think about it, it's the you don't have time and you get stuck there.
Yeah.
Going
So
ahead.
I just wondered if anybody had better ideas of signals other than external events, right? Surprise launches or whatever than that. Lori hopefully got an awesome answer.
So
She always
It yeah, I don't know if it's awesome. You might give me too much credit. The other thing to consider is with your research cycle, these kind of external factors that are happening. For example, many people this morning in their intros mentioned AI, right? That becomes a great reason to get back out there with your customers and looking again at the market to see, all right, how has this latest news shifted trends? What's happening with all the layoffs, right? We're talking about obviously organization shifting. How are the people, how is the loss of people within those organizations going to impact how they use and interact with your product? Right. So that gives you two excuses right off the bat to get back out. And Scott, I totally agree your point with Nielsen Norman. General rule of thumb is start with 5 people, and the point at which you start to hear repeats, you're definitely in a good spot.
and then if you start to hear different things, if you've got a so we did a book club on Teresa Torres's continuous discovery habits last year, I think it was. Yeah, last
yeah.
summer. And one of the things that she really advocates for is making sure that you have a constant process in place to continue to discover and validate what you're working on, what you could be, where opportunities you could be working on right now, and the opportunities that you are working on right now